Hey, what's happening? We are fully into the firewood season. Good news, orders are flying out. Bad news is we're running out of good seasoned wood. So we're also dabbling in a little bit of firewood arbitrage. We're basically buying wood from other folks and selling it for a little bit of a profit. With that, you got to keep up your standards. You have high expectations from your customers. So what I have in the dump trailer today, I'll turn the camera around in a minute and show you, is some wood from a barn. Been sitting in there for a year. Super dry post oak. Post oak is one of my most popular species that I sell for my barbecue customers. And in a pinch, obviously you can use it for heat. But these splits are huge. Some of them are like 24 inches or bigger in length. And some of them I could split in half probably. For sure. They're pretty heavy, even though they are fully dry. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you my rig on splitting those down into manageable sizes. So let's turn. All right, here's what I'm talking about. We've got some beautiful post oak, dry as a bone, really good, been stored out of the elements, sitting up off the ground on some pallets. Actually had cinder blocks and boards, keeping it up, getting good airflow. So it's nice and dry. It's ready to go to the barbecue customers, but some of these splits are really big. So I got over here, I'll show you an example. This is one of my splits on the left, 16 inches, roughly 2x3. That's about what I normally do. Maybe I'll explore every once in a while with a 3x4 or a 4x4 piece. But this is a piece that I got from this old farmer. So this is obviously 24 inches at least. A big piece, easily can split that down the middle. So a lot of these thicker pieces, we're okay with burning those in the fire pit. But this length is not going to work for most barbecue fire pits. Heck, most fireplaces can't even, around here in Louisiana, don't fit those pieces. 24 inches is going to be too much. This is a little bit more manageable, 16 to 18 inches. So some of these are in the right length. Some of these are going to need some love. And I'm going to show you my setup for trying to make these a little bit better. But yeah, good quality wood, just a little bit oversized. And we're going to get set up. And this is what you need. Obviously, you need a chainsaw. You need, when it comes to chainsaws, if you've got multiple options, I would not recommend your biggest and most powerful chainsaw. This is my 290. I do have a 500i now, and that chainsaw is gonna be a little too powerful. So I'll tell you why in a minute. And I got a little jig that I made up here. So I'm gonna set the camera up and I'm gonna show you how this process works. All right, I've picked out a few pieces here. I'm gonna work mostly from the dump trailer and I'll move the camera and show you that, but I wanted to show you basically how this is going to work. Take your jig, find a fairly level spot. I don't have a shop with concrete floor or anything, so you get these set up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these nice long pieces of post oak. We're going to use it as ballast to hold the jig in place. Once you get one in there, they're pretty much where you need to be. And then you load up on top of it another piece. Then another piece, and you play your little Tetris game, trying to get them all in there nice and tight as you can. And then I like to get one side even together. Even though the lengths are not consistent, at least I'm going to get the majority of, at least when I split these basically in half, at least one half of them is going to be the right consistent length. The other is going to be a little inconsistent, which is not my favorite when it comes to making firewood for my customers. They're expecting something more consistent from me. We just run out because we only sell dry firewood. We only sell high quality firewood, which means everybody tells everybody, and they buy it faster than I can make it. So, good problem to have. Not complaining in the least. We're blessed. God has given me a weird little situation right now. If you're not tracking, I am retired military. So I have a job in the military as a civilian, doing the same job I did when I was in the military. But we're on furlough right now because, you know, time to play games with people's livelihoods. And there's probably a meme out there that says, "Are you tired of being used as a pawn?" And the veteran sitting in the gallows with the noose around his neck says, "Oh, first time." So I'm not saying it's not frustrating. I'm just trying to keep focused and positive on the things that I can. And one of those is I like to make firewood, and when I don't have to go to the day job, I get to make firewood. So this is an example of what I do here. I stack this little jig up as tight as I can. I get some pieces in there all even on one side, and then what we're going to do is we're going to run the saw down the middle, roughly the middle, and we're going to go ahead and split those into half. I'm not going to do that in half. What I'll probably do, now that I'm looking at it, I'll probably run it right alongside this 2x4 here to try to get closer to a 16-inch piece. Then I'll have a few shortcuts. I've got some customers that their firebox is much smaller, so the offcuts are okay with them. So we'll see if that works. And maybe on the next batch, I'll go ahead and do those in half, and we'll see if we can get those done. But I'm gonna fire up the saw, and I'll show you how it works. All right, before I fire up the chainsaw and you can't hear anything I'm saying, what I want to tell you is doing this, you obviously get your safety. And the reason I don't use the most powerful saw I have is because when you do this, it's going to try to pull. These logs don't have near the weight, excuse me, these pieces of firewood don't have near the weight as some of the firewood logs do, obviously. So when you cut into them, you got to be careful that you're not pulling them up, which is why I have a bumper here. So what I'm going to do is I'm very cautiously going to start here, and I'm just going to work my way down with some consistent speed. I'm not rearing all the way down. Again, that's why I didn't use the one with the biggest CCs. I don't need to power through this, but I'm going to cut all the way down, and then I've got a little gap there at the bottom so I don't bottom out and dull the saw. Well, that's one of the fun things about not having this stable is obviously the rack gives way once all the weight is no longer holding both pieces down. But what we end up with, your consistent, roughly 16-inch pieces. They'll stack nice, and I don't have to go in and basically embarrass myself carrying some crazy pieces. We're going to split this one down in half, obviously. So that's the process. It's slow to get started because you want to take your time making sure that that first one doesn't come flying up at you. Really take your time. That's why I use a slower saw, and I was very methodical. So yeah, the saw is sharp. You don't need to comment that I don't know how to file a chain. The idea is that I don't give myself a black eye. And then we get all these little small consistent pieces for cooking wood. Super fine, we can do that there. Obviously we'll split this big guy down into at least half, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the camera set up with the totes, and I'm gonna show you my process. All right, we'll get this a little bit closer, but this is basically the setup that I think will work. What I've got here, I've got a tote with the shorts, no window cut in this tote because those short pieces, they don't stack worth a darn, so I left a full tote just to hold some of those. Then we've got a tote with a window cut in it for stacking the nice roughly 16-inch pieces. We've got the dump trailer, which is a very expensive working table, but it is very helpful because now the wood will come down to me. I'll set the jig up here, use the saw, and then use the X27, split down the bigger ones. So enough talking. We're gonna go ahead and get set up and see if we can get some work done. I'm strategically placing the camera in places where you don't see my driver's license or my license plate number. But one of the things I've just a little trial and error here as I'm going through this is I figure instead of cutting all the way through the bottom and worrying about bottoming out on that dirt, I'll just leave the last couple little pieces in there that'll keep the jig from falling, and they'll just keep refilling from there. So it's working okay. It's methodical and it's slow and it's not a lot of fun. We'll put you on 2x speed here shortly. I'm gonna go through and do like I just did a minute ago. Find all the pieces that are roughly 18 inches already and leave those there. So it's a little slow and methodical, but it's working. I'm gonna have to probably put you on 2x speed, make it a little less boring, but this is just one of the things you want to have a premium product. You try to take 1 or 2 extra steps to set yourself apart from the crowd. I think what I'll do is I'll probably leave those bottom 2 pieces and use those as like an extra buffer to make sure I don't get all the way down to the dirt and don't have to sharpen the chainsaw. But we'll put you on 2x speed. We'll go through a few of these and see if we can get at least one basket done. That's the process. Nothing fun, nothing sexy about it, but getting through it. We're getting some barbecue wood caught up on, but that's all we're gonna do today. I'm gonna lose a little bit of daylight here. It's pretty cloudy. We got good storms coming through, so I'm gonna try to get some of this done now. So basically I'm gonna stop filming, but if you would like and subscribe to the channel, super helpful. Really appreciate that. We've got a pretty good amount of subscribers. We're around 1,600. So that's pretty exciting. We do need to get a whole bunch of watch hours. So throw stuff on loop and relax, put some chill time on and enjoy the process of making firewood. If that's interesting to you, really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. So until next time, bye.